This episode is brought to you by the European Coworking Assembly. We are everything Coworking Europe. If you head to the Coworking Assembly website, you can connect with our Rural Coworking, European Freelancers Week, Coworking Symposium, Coworking Library, and Coworking Tools.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Co-working Values podcast. This one I'm super pumped with. You're going to hear about Gerald, who runs Impact Brixton. And as you know, next week in London, we have our next London Co-working Assembly breakfast meetup. We do this every month from 9:30 till 11. We go to a different venue or co-working space every week. And so not every week, every month. And it's a real opportunity for particularly independent co-working space owners in London, but anyone who owns a co-working space or works in a co-working space, if you're a community manager, and then a few people who supply things to the co-working space that are part of the ecosystem in London and in the European Co-working Assembly. A lot of those people, we're going to be meeting in Spain for Co-working Spain at the end of April, so we'll put a link in the show notes to that. But there's a lot of, particularly around how the whole Ukraine thing has come out. There's a lot of people not just helping Ukraine, but like helping the co-working ecosystem, and I'd say like bringing forth a spirit of collaboration in humanity and business and entrepreneurship like we haven't seen for a very, very long time. But before we go into anything else, I'm going to ask Gerald to say, Gerald, what are you known for, and what would you like to be known for, sir?
You talking about me or the company?
I'm talking. I'm a businessman.
I'm not a business. I'm a businessman. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. No, I mean, for this podcast, I own and run Impact Brixton CIC, which I often frame and phrase as the only known large-scale Black-owned co-working space, right? It's in the heart of Brixton. We've been here for about 7-8 years as a community. And I guess the reason why I'm hoping to be part of that conversation next week around diversity and inclusivity is that I believe we own one of the most diverse communities in all of London. There's 260 members that use the space, all creators, freelancers, or entrepreneurs, and yeah, we have at least 45% BAME and more than 60% women. So beat that.
I don't know many people that could. When people say they're the largest, oldest, most fantastic leading, I normally want to like kick him in the shins a bit. But on your case, I really celebrate that, because it is just to get that many people showing up in the same place at the same time is an art form in itself. But to do it with that mix of people is really, really important. It's a huge part of the conversation we have around the London Co-working Assembly and the idea project and everyone else connected to it. So it's really, and it's amazing. And it's the way that space has evolved. Can you say a little bit about Brixton? Because there's people in the States and Europe who maybe the only thing they know is the Electric Avenue song, and that's it. But
yeah, no, absolutely. So I think one of the reasons why we speak about it as being Black-owned is because we hope it isn't. To be honest, we want that there should be more Black-owned co-working spaces in Europe, because the space and the industry is incredibly not diverse, right? And there's and often communities, different minority groups just don't feel welcome to move into some of the larger players and some of the larger spaces. So it is important. One of the ways you ensure there's inclusive and diverse is by ensuring that, hey, some we're represented at that ownership level, so we can have an influence on how it's designed, how we attract similar people to the space. So yeah, that's one of the reasons. But yeah, Brixton is. I learned last week that Brixton has the largest nightlife in the whole of the UK. It has the second busiest tube station in the whole of the UK. And Brixton is sort of is really coming up. Most people that live in London know Brixton. It is initially was sort of formed by the Caribbean community moving into this area back in the 80s. There was a very famous riot where we were fighting for the rights of blacks that have moved into the country back then. And it just has you think of like sort of Brooklyn or Harlem. It used to be 20 years ago, you couldn't convince anyone to come here because it was poor and run down and full of a lot.
I used to go there.
There you go.
I used to go to the fridge in Brixton and dance my. and I saw Arrested Development in the. Is it the Forum? What's the Brixton Academy?
Oh, Brixton Academy. Yeah. I mean, most people would have come to Brixton Academy for some music venue, music event back in the days. But I think generally most people would avoid it unless you were coming to see your favorite band, right? But now it's very different. There's a lot of investment and it's become a food haven. So many entrepreneurs, creatives, and the whole space is just bustling and it's just a great nightlife.
It's because of David Bowie, man. That's why.
Yeah, well,
David, he trod the streets and made it happen.
He's good at it with some magic, indeed.
It's a really interesting area. So on that thing, because I hadn't been to Brixton for like 10 years, and I did used to go. I mean, I joke, but I did used to go there in the 90s and see bands and stuff, and go clubbing. And there was always this feeling of like, you're going into this black community, and because I've been to lots of things, I didn't feel particularly, scared of going there, but it definitely had a reputation, even if that reputation was definitely fueled by the media. And I went there, I've been there to see a few, not yours yet, but a few co-working spaces. And it just seems like I'm really worried about the gentrification aspect because it's a very important part of, London's heritage and London's black heritage, and it's starting to look a little bit too sparkly. And how's that affected the community?
Yeah, there's no doubt, and I know this is probably a broader conversation, but there's no doubt that gentrification is affecting it, good and bad, and it's a debate we often have at Impact Brixton about whether it's good for Brixton or not good for Brixton. But I think for us as entrepreneurs, as creators, we try to think about what we can control and what we can change, right? And so I like to think about the positive aspects of gentrification and how we can lean more into that and ensure that, hey, this makes a difference to our community. But you're right, it is it was built by the West Indian and Caribbean community, and that someone once said to me, this is a black guy who left Wolverhampton and came to Brixton for the first time, and he said the first time he saw Brixton, it was like living in black and white his whole life in Wolverhampton, and now life felt like it was in color. And so when you get out of Brixton Tube Station, you can hear sort of steel bands, the smells of like exotic food and coconut being sold, and the markets and all raw fish and raw ingredients. It feels real, and it feels like life, and that's been kept. We've kept a lot of that, and I think what I'm most proud about how Brixton has been gentrified is that even if you walk through our most pronounced space, which is Brixton Village, half of the spaces there are black owned. Like we own the largest space in Brixton Village, and so there's a lot of that. And there's no doubt that during the day, it's a lot of middle class white people traveling from Clapham, Dulwich, and all sorts of parts of the world to come and see what we've built. But that is, to a certain extent, inevitable. And what we have to do is we have to ensure that we own Brixton and we own the businesses that are in Brixton. And if we can attract the world to come and see it, then that money goes to us and our communities.
I love the way you frame that. That's a very, well thought out, positive take on gentrification, because there's that risk of like kicking everyone out, which happened very unelegantly in Hackney around the Olympic Games. And Hackney Wick, which is probably the area I know best there, has just been, taken over. I want to go back to something we were talking about.
Before you move on, and I don't want to, there's a lot of businesses that may have been kicked out and have had to move out because of gentrification in Brixton, and this is still happening. So I don't want to dismiss it as if it's not happening and it's not real and it isn't affecting us. But it is. I mean, there are people that are making that fight for us as Impact Brixton. Our fight is to really inspire creators and entrepreneurs and freelancers to start businesses and own Brixton and leverage the opportunities of gentrification. So my mind is there, but I definitely don't want to dismiss anyone who's going through the negative impacts of gentrification,
Thanks for adding that in there. I hate you to be misinterpreted. So with that starting a new business and how what we said earlier about how the co-working industry, and it's one of the themes of our breakfast event, is how people are underrepresented in co-working. Can you say a bit about the access to finance? Because that comes up, with you, it comes up in a lot of conversations around inclusion and diversity at a kind of higher economic level. And it's definitely something we talk about in Urban MBA. So, did you ever see that Eddie Murphy sketch where the white guy goes into the bank to get a loan and the black guy? It's like
No, I've not seen that. Go on.
It could almost be inappropriate, but the Eddie Murphy dressed up as a black guy goes into a bank. I think it's from Saturday Night Live, and he goes, "Oh, can I borrow some money?" And they're like, "I don't know, you only own 2 houses and 3 cars. I don't know if we can lend it." And then Eddie Murphy goes in dressed up as a white guy, and they say, "Is 10 million enough? And don't ask any questions." And it kind of feels like that was funny then, but now it's just not funny.
Yeah.
I don't even know if it was funny then, but it does feel like that. I am, as we've dug deeper into this, I'm amazed at how hard it still is for women and people of colour to get access to funding from charities, bank loans, anything else. It's startling how that situation is.
Massive hurdle, and I guess I have to shout out to a company in Brixton that's raising funding for tech companies called Black Seed, Carl, Loco, and Co. doing a great job, and they're helping us sort of bridge some of those gaps for tech funding. But the reality is that it doesn't. I try again not to focus on the activism around how we can change that. I try to focus on what we can do to improve that, and that's why I'm probably in this position. But it's really hard to fund these companies and to get 5-year leases on 20,000 square foot. Even for us, we have one of the largest co-working that's black owned. It's 8,000 square foot, but to operate and scale and thrive, you need around 20,000 square foot. So we're actually looking for more space, and just securing the space is a challenge. Funding it is a challenge. Leasing it is a challenge, and often you're just dealing with people that they just don't look like you. They don't feel, they don't resonate with your story. And often anyone who's raised funding before knows it's so much easier when you walk into a space and the person resonates with your background, with your culture. They feel your pain. They know who you are. And they might even know someone who you went to school with. That you just need that connect. And that's often how it happens. And so we're trying to change that. And it is near to impossible for someone like me to find that funding. But we have, and we've done it, and we will continue to pave the way. So again, I want to focus on the positive and what we can do. And when it comes to diversity and inclusivity, the fact that I've done it now means it's easier for the next minority to think, hey, I can do that and I can do it bigger. And I think, this is the beginning of many of trail. We are trailblazing the space for sure.
That's why that is something I've learned to understand is why representation is so important, because when I see sort of short, chubby, bald men doing things, it inspires me to go and do it. And when you don't see people like you doing things, you just don't understand that it is possible for you. Right. And that's a huge deal. One of the things I'm dying to ask you about, which when you described it for me, I felt like it's the Studio 54 of co-working creator movements is the Creator Club, and just riff on that because it sounds. I'm almost jealous, Gerald, because I would love to have Magic Tonight like that up. So can you talk about the Creator Club? Because it's
I'd love to. So I think
amazing.
One of the things how we think about ourselves now really is that we are a co-working and an event space, right? And we are creating a community, not just offline of people that come and use the space, but a community online to inspire more creators. And for those of you that are perhaps thinking, what do you mean by creators? There's creators and there's creatives, right? The creator economy is really the biggest and fastest growing economy in the world now, which is, I think I read somewhere that under 25s, 1 or 2 out of every under 25 is working in the creator economy. Essentially, think of it as you are monetizing your individuality, your personality. So whether you're a YouTuber, you are making, you're doing something that because of the way you are doing it, nobody else can replicate it. And that means you are anti-fragile against being replaced by computers or the IT industry or the tech industry, right? Because no one can essentially create this co-working space the way we have, right? It's unique to us and our community. And so we are trying to bring all these creators together, right? And that is the way that we address unemployment, because people that are creating themselves are going to find ways of monetizing that, and then they never have to lose their job. So how we're doing that is by every Friday we run the IB Creator Club here. And if you want to find out more, go to ibcreator.club or ibcreatorsclub.com. And you can sign up and join. And essentially, we're giving free cocktails for 2 hours to anyone that shows up for the next few months until we've got to scale, right? And that's the first 3 Fridays of the month. And then the last Friday of the month, we take it to a whole different level. It is from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. It is a networking night where we have a ton of games. Sometimes it's karaoke, sometimes there's comedy, and it's all about 120 creators networking and having fun like you can't imagine. Board games, retro video games, VR games, ping pong, whether it's Cards Against Humanity, pub quizzes, all sorts of locally sourced dinner, free rum punch, which is made in-house in our building, by the way, courtesy of Shout Out Brixton Distillery, Market Row Rum. And all of this is run for, it's a night like you can't imagine. It's really hard for me to explain it, but essentially imagine a space where you're playing games with people that think like you, that get you, and you're going to walk away making some real meaningful connections. That was a long pitch, but hopefully
no, it was that's what I was looking for. It's the energy that it's almost like the fact you can't describe it makes it like really cool. Because when things it's I've run like I've been on Meetup since 2008, and I haven't counted, but I must have run like 1,000 meetups in the last decade, and some of them just click, and some of them feel very come along, bring plenty of business cards. Don't forget, can I get and when you just, we years ago, we stopped calling things networking groups because when the type of people that turn up
networking sucks. That's why, right? They all suck. And this is like, we sell out now every time. And I'll put my life on it. The net promoter score on this is 9 out of 10. Like, it's crazy. If anyone hasn't, if you're thinking, what do I do last Friday? How do I don't want to just get drunk. That's the point, right? Like, all we do now is what? We go to the pub, we go to the bars, and we go and eat, right? It's all consuming. But no, as creators, our instinctive is we want to create. We want to work even when we're having fun. And that's the bridge. That's really what we're trying to create. A space for you to be who you are without it feeling like you're just getting drunk.
When you told me about it, it really connected to me. I want to ask, like, where did that come from? Was it like a group of people staying around late, and then it grew into...
Literally, during lockdown, a few of us were like, listen, life sucks being at home. A few of us we opened the co-working space to anyone that just said, hey, I can't stay at home anymore. We gave nearly everyone the keys and they can come in. And often you'd just come in and nobody was here, right? And then just as lockdown was opening, we were like, geez, okay, a few of us just kept meeting there Fridays organically. And we just thought, okay, let's buy some games. Let's get a ping pong table. Okay, maybe we just do some karaoke. And it just kept growing to the point where we were like, shit, this is an event. So we ended up just turning it into an event and then selling out 100 tickets like that. It was just sold out. And we were like, wow, okay, now we need to formalize it. So now we've got over 25 people working on the night, and it's just a dope evening. So I can't sing. I can't sing its praises. I admit that.
I've been involved in things like that over time, and they've never come from a formulaic sitting around a table planning it. Nope. Even though saying that, you'll probably find me trying to plan things. And I think that's you're one of the few people I've seen for ages that has like captured the spirit of London. There was a about 10 years ago, Scott Hefferman, the founder of Meetup, came to London, and he came to the co-working space we're in, and Meetup sponsored this night. And at the time, me and a group of people ran a thing called the London Meetup Organisers Meetup, which was a scary group of people that all organised meetups. And he went around the room. About 150 people showed up because a lot of people didn't believe he was coming. And he was just really interested in who people were. So he wasn't interested in pitching Meetup. And we just stood around, and we got the local cafe to cook some food and had some beers in a bucket. It wasn't flash at all. And we're all in this big room. And he went around the room and he asked everybody just to say what their meetup was. And the people that went to like networking groups stood up and said, like, I'm Bernard, I work with a series of people. And he said, no, don't give me your pitch, just say what you do. So then it became, Bernie, I run the bloggers meetup, Gerald, I run the Brixton Sewing Club, and Amanda. And through that, and we heard about 100 and something people said their meetups. And that is the biggest representation of the energy of London I've ever seen, because it was people running language meetups, dance clubs, networking groups, gaming nights, doctors and nurses running support groups, charities, unions, London Shy Meetup, the North London Gay Jewish Philosophy Meetup. How more specific can you get than that? And there was a whole range of people in there, and it was like this London energy, which I don't know why I got into this, sorry folks, but I'm craving to capture that in co-working nowadays. And that creator night is the energy that I'm looking for, Gerald.
I love that. I love that. You've given me an idea. And if I'm going to add this to the night, actually, which is we've been thinking about a way of engaging everyone in a similar way. So we might go round and let everyone introduce themselves. 100 people, though. How could we do that? 10 seconds, 100 people. Could we do that in 5 minutes?
If you just do it once, every so often, it's great, because if you go
every time, it might suck, right? Okay.
Yeah, I've made that mistake several times. Is like if you go to the London Co-working Assembly and everyone says what they do, you'll be finished. And that's why I put it on. Going into tactics now, folks. I used to put it on LinkedIn, but you can't put it on LinkedIn as a closed event and post to people now. But letting people find a way to connect is really, really important. So this has turned into Gerald and Bernie's event tactic club.
Awesome. No, but seriously though, thank you for this, and I'm looking forward to next week. And if anyone wants to hear more about how we have thought about designing this place for inclusivity and diversity, really looking forward to sharing that next week.
Brilliant. Really appreciate your time, Gerald. Say goodbye to the viewers at home.
Goodbye, viewers. See you later. And if you're ever in Brixton, come check out impactbrixton.com. And we are at ibcreators.club.
We'll put a link in the show notes to that. And folks, if you go to the coworkingassembly.eu and wait for that amazing pop-up, and you'll be able to get our weekly blog, weekly newsletter, podcasts and events. The next big international event we're going to, which will be the first time I've seen all these people in real life since the Research Group for Collaborative Spaces event in January 2020, is Co-work in Spain. If you get into our newsletter, there's a discount code for Co-work in Spain, and it's all about co-working, co-living, and the problems that industry is facing. And Igor, who is the leader or one of the leaders of the Ukraine Co-working Assembly, is going there to talk about how co-working can help rebuild humanity, not just in Ukraine, but globally as well. So it'd be a really important talk. Thanks very much for listening. Take care.